dynamic parameter. So potency is the dose required to produce a particular response. Okay, but in pharmacodynamics, we measure potency by which parameter on log dose response curve?
Sir, Km value.
Yeah, Km value, or when I told you Km value is calculated how? So it is the concentration at which the response is half of the maximal response. Okay. So potency is measured by Km value or the EC50 value. Okay. So the question then arise EC50 or ED50 value on the dose response curve. Okay. All right. So in like I have shown here. So here, sorry. So here roughly will be the 50% response and the dose corresponding to this here. So it will be roughly that potency of this drug. Okay, the dose which causes 50% of the maximal response is called as the potency of the drug. Okay, and usually in a system, the Km value is equal to EC50 value. Please remember that, or the Km or the Kd value. Km is actually a term used in enzymatic reaction, but here also in drug receptor, yeah, Michaelis Menten constant. But here in pharmacodynamics, we usually take Kd is the same as Km value. Okay, all right. So potency is measured by EC50 or Km value, and usually in a system, Km value is equal to EC50 or ED50. Okay, but you might ask, is it always that Km value is equal to EC50 value always in a system? Usually it is. But I told you last time one concept, spare receptors. Okay. So that's a very important, how do you assess whether the system has spare receptors? Like I told you, you give an irreversible antagonist and still you are able to obtain the maximal response. By that you can take spare receptors, but pharmacodynamically you can measure it by calculating the EC50. When EC50 is not equal to Km value, then that indicates that system has spare receptors. Okay. Now this concept I will explain, if I get time at the end. Okay. Because usually it is very well taught on the blackboard. All right. But I will try to explain you, that when EC50 is not equal to the Km or the Kd value, then the system has spare receptors in it. So please remember this important concept. This will not be written in your book. Okay. All right. So moving further. Now, last time we discussed log dose response curve. Okay, was the graded dose response curve. So why graded? Because the response increases with increase in the dose, or usually calculates the concentration of a drug. Okay, so graded dose response curve, it is calculated in individual patients or in individual tissues when we do in vitro studies. Okay, but quantile dose response curve here you see, importantly, here the response is predefined. It is all or none phenomenon. Okay. So here there is no gradation of response, like initial increase in response and then maximal response. No. So here the response is predefined, whether it occurs or not. For example, if you are assessing whether a drug has analgesic activity. Okay. So you will say, I will give a particular dose of any drug and I will assess whether the pain is relieved or not. Okay, so here the response is predefined. So how do you then plot this graph? So this graph is usually plotted between, so on y-axis, here, so you can see here on y-axis it is the percentage of population, which is showing that response. Okay. For example, if you start, you say that aspirin is an analgesic drug. Okay. So I will start with 100 milligrams of aspirin and see whether it really, how much of the percentage of the population shows relief in the pain or not. Okay, that's it. Okay, so on y-axis will be the percentage of population showing the response. On x-axis will be the dose. Okay, so on first dose you gave of aspirin 100 milligram, and on y-axis you will see the percentage of population showing the relief in pain. So let's say it is around 20%. Okay, then you move forward. You give 200 milligram to everyone. Now you see how many percentage or how many people show the relief in pain or not. Okay, so let's say this moves to 30% of the population shows the relief in pain. Now you move forward, you give 300 milligram, it shows 60% of population, okay, or 50% of population. You move forward, let's say 500 milligram now. Now you see that almost 100% of the population shows relief in the pain. Okay, so that is how you calculate, that is how in the real world the doses are calculated. Okay, so you got that. So on y-axis, it is the percentage of population showing a fixed response. Okay, so here there is no gradation of response, like there is mild reduction of pain or moderate reduction of pain or severe reduction of pain. You have predefined that. Okay, that is, there will be pain relief or not. That's it. Okay, you can also set the endpoint as mild relief in pain. Okay, and you will set the criteria. You will define what is mild relief in pain. But there will only be one end response. Okay, so similarly for toxic effects also, you will start, let's say on 100 milligram, there is a small, headache occurs. On 200 milligram, so like that for individual adverse effects, you can plot the graphs. Okay, और you can predefine certain set criteria. अगर headache होगा, gastritis होगा और थोड़े बहुत चक्कर आएंगे, ये हमारा end response होगा. ठीक है, then you will see कितनी percentage of population, let's say you start with 100 milligram, कितनों में headache हुआ, nausea, vomiting हुआ और gastritis हुआ. ठीक है, so you have predefined your end response. Okay, so like that, you can plot a graph of the toxic effects of the drug. Okay, so 500 milligram might be showing, headache and gastritis also, but it will be acceptable to the patient. Okay, because gastritis you can treat with proton pump inhibitors or everything. So that is why when you take aspirin 650 milligram, you get gastritis. Okay, but still we give that dose because here the benefit which is achieved, that is analgesia, is much more, or it is much more than acceptable to the patient than the adverse effect. Adverse effect at this dose, the gastritis is also acceptable to the patient. But the moment you increase the dose further, let's say you go to 1000 milligram, then patient might not accept the gastritis. Okay, that is why it is usually the dose, the maximal dose is okay, but that now in that usually becomes pharmacokinetic role of that. Okay, but the individual dose, the single dose is set at 650 milligram at a time you take. So 100% of the population will be showing the acceptable adverse effect. Okay, so you can plot a graph of toxic adverse effects or the toxic effects of the drug also. Okay, so this is the most important use of quantile dose response curve, that you calculate the therapeutic index of a drug. Okay, so therapeutic index of a drug, how do you calculate? It is here, it is calculated by the ratio between the lethal dose, okay, that is the dose causing the death of 50% of the patient. But usually, can you imagine, can you cause 50% of death in the patient? You cannot even cause the death in a single patient if you want to test the drug. Okay, so in humans, usually we say, instead of lethal dose is a term used for animals. Okay, so therapeutic index. So this formula actually is for small animals like rats, or mice. In that you can, give a drug, and you can see the dose which causes 50% of the death of the animal, and this is divided by the dose which is effective in 50% of the animals. Okay. So, but in humans, this LD50 is replaced by the TD50, that is toxic dose. Okay. So, this is the median legal dose. So, in humans, this is replaced by toxicity instead of lethality, because obviously it is not ethical. No ethics committee will give you a permission to cause death of even a single patient. Okay. So, in humans, usually it is the ratio between the dose which is causes the uh, adverse effect or toxicity or the maximum acceptable adverse effect in 50% of the population divided by the dose which is effective in at least 50% of the population. Okay. So obviously by this ratio you can say higher the dose which is required to cause toxicity in 50% of population, obviously that drug will be safer. Okay, so if any drug has therapeutic index, 1 or less than 1, that drug will be very unsafe. Okay, now if let's say the drug has therapeutic index of 100 or 1000, obviously it will be very safe drug. Okay, like penicillins or antibiotics, they are very safe drug. They have therapeutic index of around 1000. Okay. Whereas if you see, cyclosporin or chloroquine, or, you see the other aminoglycoside antibiotics, their therapeutic index is very low. Okay. Like a lot of anti-epileptics, their therapeutic index is around 2 to 3. Okay. So very low therapeutic index. So ideally, any drug should have a therapeutic index at least more than 1. Okay. It should not be less than 1. All right, is it clear? Okay, so in humans, last time I told you, we can also calculate the therapeutic range also. Okay, fine. So therapeutic range is usually calculated for drugs which have a narrow therapeutic index. Okay, so obviously they will be showing a therapeutic range. It will be between those showing minimal therapeutic effect and the dose which is maximal acceptable adverse effect. All right. Okay, so this I have already told you. Therapeutic index is a measure of the relative safety of a drug. So large value indicates a wide margin of safety. Example I have told you. Small value, narrow margin of warfarin, which is an anticoagulant. The moment you the dose goes higher than the acceptable INR value, patient will show bleeding. Okay, so it has got a lower therapeutic index. Okay, so it will be roughly around 2, the therapeutic index of warfarin. Okay, all right. Now comes the important concept. We in the previous lecture we talked about a lot of agonists, like agonist, partial agonist. We talked about the inverse agonist, and then we talked about antagonists. Remember, so antagonists, as I told, all drugs have affinity. Okay, so they, for any drug to bind to receptor, it must have affinity, but the efficacy is only shown by agonists, and partial agonists have only partial efficacy. Okay, as I told you last time, inverse agonists have negative efficacy. Okay, they cause the effects in negative direction. Okay, but antagonists have zero efficacy, as I told you, because they bind equally to the RA state. 50% bind to RA state and 50% bind to inactive state, so the net response is zero. Okay, but usually in a system, not always antagonists will lead to a response, it will be zero. Okay, in practicality, you cannot, for last time I told you that if you give a beta blocker to a patient, certainly it would lead to, bradycardia, but surely it will not totally inhibit your heart rate, otherwise you will die. Okay, so blocker means it is an antagonist of beta receptor, but, the response, it usually the antagonists are not designed like that, that they will totally, inhibit the vasal response. Usually they will lessen the effect of agonists only. Okay, fine. So antagonism is simply defined when you give two drugs A plus B and the net effect is then you find effect of drug A plus effect of drug B, you find it is less than the effect of individual drugs. Alright. Now what are the various types of drug antagonism we see? So usually, most commonly it is the pharmacological antagonism or the drug antagonism. A drug antagonizes the effect of another drug. Okay, but there can be physical antagonism, chemical antagonism, or physiological or functional antagonism. Physiological is also known as functional antagonism. Okay, but the most commonly employed is pharmacological antagonism because it is the most safe type of antagonism which we can achieve, as I will explain in further slides. So pharmacological antagonism is further divided into competitive or non-competitive. Competitive will be reversible or irreversible or pseudo-reversible. Non-competitive is always irreversible. Okay, so competitive can be reversible and usually it is reversible, but it can also be irreversible or pseudo-reversible. That is, it might look like reversible, but it will actually be irreversible only. Okay, but non-competitive is always irreversible. What is the example of physical antagonism is simply based upon physical property of a drug. Like, you see activated charcoal is very commonly used to, inhibit the poisoning of various drugs. Okay. So like it dissolves the alkaloids and prevents its absorption. So here, as I told you, it is a non-specific action. There is no point of any kind of receptor here. Okay. So it is a physical antagonism. What is chemical antagonism? It is simply two drugs react chemically and then form an inactive product. So obviously you will a lot of agents which are used in poisoning of another drug. You give an antidote. They simply bind chemically to that drug and inhibit the poisoning. Okay. So like examples are like KMNO4, it oxidizes the alkaloid, it is used for treatment of alkaloid poisoning. Normally you take antacids, what is their role? They simply neutralize the gastric acid, they react chemically. Okay. Now what is heparin? It is an acidic molecule. So for heparin toxicity, if any patient has bleeding, you give protamine sulfate, which is a basic compound. Okay, so basic drug neutralizes the acidic drug. Okay, so here there is no concept of any kind of receptor antagonism. Okay, just that two drugs are reacting chemically. Okay, now the third type of antagonism is physiological antagonism, or it is also called as functional antagonism. So see carefully here, what do you mean by physiological antagonism? It means two drugs which are acting on different receptors, so obviously, and acting by different mechanisms have opposite effect on the same physiological function. Like you commonly see, glucagon, it will act on its own receptor and would lead to increase in blood sugar. Insulin will act on its own receptor and will decrease the blood sugar. So they are antagonists of each other. Okay. So, but what they are affecting is the normal physiological function of the body, that is the blood sugar. Now, histamine, when it is produced inside the body, it leads to bronchoconstriction. Okay. Or even if you give an inhaler, you conduct an experiment and you want to induce bronchoconstriction, so you give the vapors of, histamine. Okay, so that will lead to bronchoconstriction. Now, how you can antagonize that? You can give adrenaline. Okay, and it will cause the bronchodilation through beta 2 receptor. Okay, so similarly, acetylcholine leads to vasodilation and fall in blood pressure. Noradrenaline will lead to rise in blood pressure. Okay, so these are the examples of physiological or the functional. So commonly, like adrenaline, you must be knowing it is the drug of choice for treatment of patients of anaphylactic shock. Okay, so there it reverses the bronchoconstriction which is caused by release of histamine. Okay, like which occurs in anaphylaxis. Okay, so it is a very good example for you to see that we can use physiological antagonists. Adrenaline is also used to, when there is excessive vagal activity and the patient has bradycardia and suddenly goes into cardiac arrest, in cardiac revival or the cardiac resuscitation, you give adrenaline injection also to increase the heart rate. Okay, but obviously such type of antagonism is very dangerous, because if you give an overdose of adrenaline, patient can also die, you know. So this type of antagonism is the most unsafe type of antagonism. Okay, so please remember, it has to be done very carefully if you are antagonizing the normal physiological function of the body. Okay, so safest would be to exploit the receptor. So that is why pharmacological antagonism or the drug antagonism, this is the antagonism which employs drugs to neutralize acting on the receptor of an agonist. Okay, so this type of antagonism employs the drug which act or neutralize the effect which is produced by agonist acting on its receptor. Okay, so this is the classical example of the pharmacological or the receptor antagonism. Okay, so it can, as I told you previously, it can be reversible. It is only shown by a competitive antagonist. Okay, competitive type of drug. Now, pseudo reversible or irreversible, it is shown by competitive as well as non-competitive. Okay, so I'll explain in further slides, so this concept will be clear to you. You know, so competitive antagonism can be reversible or pseudo reversible or irreversible, and non-competitive is always irreversible. Okay, so let's see what do you mean by competitive antagonism. Okay, so before I uh, read this, so I'll give you an example of competitive antagonism. So let's say, competition, it simply indicates there is a competition between two drugs. Okay. So let's say, must have seen the boxing matches. Two boxers go confront each other. Okay. Let's say your boxing ring is the receptor. Okay. And one boxer comes from one side, other boxer comes from other side. Okay. And both of them are weighing 50 kgs. They are of same weight category. Okay, so both the boxers will enter the boxing ring, which is your receptor, and one boxer will take out the other, isn't it? So he will defeat that person. Okay, so let's say one drug was the agonist and other was antagonist. So what he did, he pushed out one boxer out of the ring. Okay, he defeated it. Okay, so this means there is a competition between two drugs for binding to the site at which normally an agonist binds. So when you give this antagonist, so here you importantly, what I told you, the two boxers were both weighing 50 kg. That means the boxers should be look alike. Okay, they should be of same category, same. So here in reversible antagonism, two drugs should be structurally similar so that they compete for the same binding site. Okay, is it clear? So competitive antagonism, now when one boxer gets defeated, okay, so here, as I told you, on receptor either an agonist will sit or antagonist will sit. Both of them cannot sit together at same time because one boxer will take out the other. Okay, so is it clear? So in this type of antagonism, what you see, one boxer will take out the other boxer and push out of the ring and itself will sit. So antagonist will sit here. So when antagonist sits here on the receptor, agonist cannot sit here. Okay, now how can the agonist or one boxer, think of displacing this other boxer? So he will think, yeah, see, now I will train hard and do some, lots of exercises, become stronger. Okay. And then I will go into the boxing ring now, and now I will defeat this boxer. So next time, what will happen? Say, let's say first boxer was your agonist, second was antagonist. So now the first boxer, that is the agonist, he will do a lot of training, gain some muscle, gain some weight, and but he will still be looking structurally very similar. Okay, so let's say he becomes 60 kg in weight. Now when he enters the ring, what he will do, this agonist will displace the antagonist from its binding side. Okay, so this type of antagonism can be reversed by increasing the dose of the agonist. Is it clear? This is the competitive antagonism, and obviously, when you can displace an antagonist, that means obviously the bond formed between the antagonist and the receptor must be weak. Okay, so this is it clear? Now, when you increase the dose of an agonist to displace the agonist, obviously the dose response curve will shift to the right. Okay, is it clear? Fine. Now what will happen to the Km value? Km value is obviously, as I told you, it is same as the EC50 value. Okay. So obviously when the log DRC is shifted to the right in the presence of antagonist, okay. So this means the potency, obviously, the more of the drug is required to produce the same response. Okay. As I told you, the boxer will gain more weight. Okay. So then only he will be able to displace the antagonist. Alright, that means you are increasing the dose. When you increase the dose, obviously potency will decrease. Okay, so that means the EC50 will go to the right, and EC50, as you know, it is same as Km value. So Km value will be increased, and now efficacy will remain same, because now you can obtain the same maximal response. Is it clear? Okay, so most of the antagonists belong to this class of category. All the antagonists which you study in pharmacology are mostly competitive antagonists, because this is the kind of protection nature has given to us. Okay, because if you give an antagonist, by mistake, if you give a higher dose of antagonist, still by giving, you can overcome this higher dose of antagonist by giving still higher dose of agonist. Okay, so that is why most antagonists are designed to be competitive in nature. Okay, so the effect of antagonist will last for a shorter time, obviously, because it is reversible. Okay, so here you can clearly see. Now let's say A was your agonist, and when you give an antagonist, now your log dose response curve has shifted to the right. Okay, so this B is the log dose response curve which is obtained in presence of antagonist. So earlier, let's say this was, obviously this will correspond to the potency, okay, or the Km value. Now here the Km value will be roughly here, showing the same 50% response. So your Km value has shifted to the right, log dose response curve has shifted to the right. So Km value is increased, EC50 value is increased, but you see the efficacy remains same. Okay, still, the maximal response can be achieved. So agonist is able to defeat the antagonist. Okay, like the one boxer he will gain more weight, and he will defeat the other boxer. He will defeat the antagonist and obtain the maximal response. He will still win. Okay, fine. So this is the example of competitive antagonism. Now same competitive antagonism, next type is competitive non. Now equilibrium, simply means that, you are able to, as I told you, the drug binds to receptor and then leads to a formation of drug receptor complex, and then, which exerts its effect. So, when you give an antagonist, still you can overcome the effect of it by giving higher dose of agonist. So a new equilibrium can be established in this case of antagonism. That is why it is called equilibrium also. Okay, so competitive or equilibrium or reversible antagonist. Now let's see what is competitive non-equilibrium type or the irreversible antagonism. Okay, now in the same example, let's say, one boxer was 50 kg, he enters the ring, and you give an antagonist, okay, which now weighs 100 kg. Okay, so obviously, he enters the ring. The moment he enters the ring, your 50 kg boxer automatically, he will go out of the ring. Now, all right, so antagonist will go and sit at the site of, he will easily defeat the agonist. Okay, now there is so much discrepancy between the agonist and the antagonist. Okay, between boxer which is weighing 50 kg and other boxer which is weighing 100 kg. Okay, so can the 50 kg boxer overcome 100 kg boxer? No, it is very, very unlikely, that this first boxer can overcome the effect of second boxer because there is 50, almost double the weight. Okay, so this means in such type of antagonism, both drugs bind to the same site. The moment you give an antagonist, it will displace the agonist from its binding site, but the antagonist will stay there. The other 100 kg boxer will always be the winner. Okay, because why? Because here the antagonist does not dissociate from the receptor, it stays as the receptor. So obviously, such type of antagonism cannot be overcome by increasing the dose of agonist. Okay, so when there is no change in the dose, log DRC will not be shifted or it will remain at the same place. But antagonist has defeated the agonist. Okay, so obviously the maximal response will be reduced. So efficacy will be reduced. Okay, so this is competitive irreversible antagonism. Okay, so very few examples are there in pharmacology of such type of antagonism. Okay, like dibenamine at alpha 1 adrenergic receptors. So you can clearly see in this graph A shows normally the log dose response curve for an agonist. Now second is log dose response curve for agonist in presence of irreversible competitive antagonist. You can see there is no change in the position of the DRC. So that means Km value, that is the dose required to produce 50% response remains same. Okay, but the maximal response is reduced. It has come down, from let's say 80% to it has come down to 60%. Okay, so log dose response curve, here it shows there is no change in the Km or the EP50 value, but the Emax is reduced, efficacy is reduced. Okay, so this is the, now let's say you further increase the dose of irreversible antagonists. So what will happen? Because in this case, let's say your boxer becomes 110 kg, 120 kg. So the only winner here will be antagonist. Okay, because your agonist weighs only 50 kg. So he cannot defeat this boxer, isn't it? Okay, so what will happen? The response will further go down. So if you increase the dose of the or irreversible antagonist. So is it clear? So this type of antagonism is competitive because why? Because they were binding to the same receptor. Both the boxers entered the same ring. But obviously here only one can sit at the receptor site. Okay, other will be displaced. That is why it is a competitive antagonism, but it is irreversible. All right. Now let's see what is competitive pseudo-reversible type. So as the name suggests, actually it is pseudo-reversible. You think that you can overcome this antagonism, but actually it will not be overcome. And it will be competitive. Okay, so let's say one boxer was 50 kg your agonist and other boxer was, let's say, 70 kg. Okay, so now 70 kg boxer or your antagonist has entered. Okay, and your 50 kg boxer has, the agonist has entered. So the moment 70 kg boxer, starts the fight, he defeats the 50 kg boxer very easily. Okay, fine. But when the 50 kg boxer, will become strong and he will say, I will gain weight, still he is unable to defeat because he thinks that, yeah, I will get stronger and I will defeat this because he just weighs 20 kg more than you. Okay, but in reality, he will not be able to defeat it. Okay, so he will not be able to displace this 70 kg boxer from the ring because always there is a big discrepancy between these two boxers. 50 kg boxer will never be able to defeat the 70 kg boxer. Okay, fine. So here it will look like that by increasing the dose of agonist, you can overcome the effect of antagonist, but in reality or in clinical practice, it will be very difficult. So this will still be a kind of irreversible antagonism only. But here what will happen, only difference is when you increase the dose of agonist, initially, dose response curve is shifted to the right. So let's say your agonist becomes, one boxer becomes 60 kg. Okay, so it will go and fight with that 70 kg antagonist and it will shake the other boxers.
So you're not audible.
Sir, your voice is not coming.
Now am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Sir,
Did you understand what I told in the did you hear what I told in the previous slides?
So please explain the previous slide once more.
So from which slide did you did not hear?
So pseudo reversible one.
Pseudo reversible. Okay. So you got the thing with the irreversible thing now? Competitive irreversible thing? Okay. Now pseudo
Yes, sir.
reversible means, as I told, two boxers will enter the ring. One is 50 kgs, other is 70 kgs. So there is still some hope for agonist who is 50 kgs and he will think that I will defeat this 70 kg boxer. Okay, it will look like that you can defeat the 70 kg boxer, but still the discrepancy between the two is very high. Okay, so the moment 70 kg boxer becomes more strong, so initially, when you increase the dose of agonist, you can overcome the effect of this antagonist. But when you increase the dose of antagonist, ultimately, it will become totally irreversible. Okay. So what will happen? No matter how much you increase the dose of agonist, the effect of antagonist cannot be overcome. So initially, the Km will be shifted to the right. So log dose response curve will be shifted to the right. But with further increase in dose of antagonist, the Km will become static and your maximal response will be reduced. Okay. So there are very few examples of such type of antagonist. Very commonly we study this type of, we see this in case of organophosphate poisoning, because when you give organophosphate, if you know commonly वो suicide करते हैं ना, बेगोन स्प्रे वगैरह पी पी के, you know, household you know, so what happens that when you give एक such poison, अगर आपने small quantity में लिया है तो आप उसको immediately overcome कर सकते हो। अगर आपने बहुत ज़्यादा पी रखा है वो, ठीक है, बेगोन की पूरी बॉटल आप पी गए, तो फिर उसको रिवर्स करना बहुत मुश्किल हो जाता है। तो ये क्योंकि ये फिर हायर डोजेज में ये इरिवर्सिबल बन जाती है, टोटली इरिवर्सिबल। इनिशियली आप उसको इजीली ओवरकम कर सकते हो अगर कम डोज में आपने पिया हुआ है, ठीक है। तो दिस you know is a log dose response curve for agonist alone. B is log dose response for agonist in presence of pseudo irreversible. You can see it has shifted to the right, so obviously Km value has increased here, okay, or EC50 value has increased. But when you increase the dose of antagonist further, you will see, so with increase in dose, what is happening, the efficacy, that is the maximal response, is reducing, but Km value, the two dose response curves are always lie at the same time. So Km value is shifted to the right, very, you know, negligible. Okay, so that means with increasing dose of such antagonists, you cannot overcome the effect of this antagonism by increasing the dose of agonist. Okay, so it will become competitive irreversible type, which I told you earlier, or the non-equilibrium type. Now why they are non-equilibrium type? Because here you cannot achieve the same response like you see with case of, so equilibrium can never be established in this case. Okay, so equilibrium means when drug combines with receptor and the reaction goes in the forward direction. Okay, drug receptor effect. So here the system will always be non-equilibrium state. Okay, fine, is it clear? Now the last type of antagonism is non-competitive or irreversible type. Now let's say in the same example, you know, here what happens that, you know, before a boxer enters the ring, you know, before a boxer enters the ring, they usually, you know, stand on the sides of the ring, isn't it? When their names are announced and then they enter the ring. So here one boxer is 50 kg and other boxer is, you know, let's say 200 kg, जैसे आपने देखा होगा Japanese sumo wrestling style में, you know. So both the agonist and antagonist are very dissimilar. उनका स्ट्रक्चर एक दूसरे से मैच ही नहीं करता, ठीक है। तो इसमें तो कोई चांस ही नहीं है कि एगोनिस्ट जो है 200 kg वाले को हरा पाएगा, ठीक है ना। और जो आपका एंटेगनिस्ट है 200 kg वाला, उसकी इतना ज़्यादा स्ट्रक्चर डिसिमिलर है कि वो जाके उस साइट पे भी बाइंड नहीं करेगा जहाँ पे वो आपका एगोनिस्ट बाइंड करता है। तो यानी कि वो कहाँ खड़ा हुआ है, जो रिसेप्टर या आपका बॉक्सिंग रिंग था, वो जो आपका 200 kg का बॉक्सर है वो बाहर ही खड़ा है, ठीक है, किसी दूसरी जगह पे खड़ा है, लेकिन जो आपका एगोनिस्ट था उसको देख के ही भाग जाएगा, ठीक है ना। यही होगा ना इस केस में, क्योंकि वो तो इतना डर जाएगा, कहेगा भाई ये कौन आ गया मेरे से बॉक्सिंग करने, ठीक है। तो इसमें क्या होगा कि एंटेगनिस्ट जो है डिफरेंट साइड पे बाइंड करेगा रिसेप्टर की, क्यों, क्योंकि उसका स्ट्रक्चर रिजेंबल ही नहीं करता एगोनिस्ट से, ठीक है। और एंटेगनिस्ट क्या करेगा इस केस में, तो वो एगोनिस्ट को अपनी साइड पे बाइंड करने से रोक देगा, ठीक है ना। तो दैट इज व्हाई हियर इसमें इसका तो कोई मतलब ही नहीं है, जब दोनों का स्ट्रक्चर ही डिसिमिलर है तो आप जितनी मर्जी एगोनिस्ट की डोज बढ़ा लो कोई फायदा ही नहीं है, इट विल नेवर बी एबल टू ओवरकम द इफेक्ट ऑफ एंटागनिस्ट। ओके, सो हियर ऑलवेज Km वैल्यू रिमेन सेम व्हाइल Emax इज रिड्यूस। अब ये मैंने आपको किस केस में बताई थी कि Km वैल्यू रिमेन सेम व्हाइल Emax इज रिड्यूस, इट वाज कॉम्पिटिटिव
non-equilibrium.
non-equilibrium or irreversible, very good, ठीक है। so same thing you can observe with competitive non-equilibrium or irreversible antagonism, ठीक है। so only difference is वहाँ पे दोनों बॉक्सर के थोड़ा बहुत स्ट्रक्चर सिमिलर था, सेम साइड पे। यहाँ पे जो है आपका site of binding is different because their structures are different. Okay, so here you can clearly see only Emax is reduced in such type of antagonism. Log DRC is not shifted. Okay, A से B हो गया, रिस्पॉन्स कम हो गया इन प्रेजेंस ऑफ एंटागनिस्ट, फिर आपने और डोज बढ़ाई एंटागनिस्ट की तो सिमिलरली और रिस्पॉन्स कम हो गया, लेकिन Km वैल्यू या EC50 वैल्यू पे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा. ठीक है, लॉग डोज रिस्पॉन्स कर्व सेम जगह पे ही रहेगा. ओके फाइन, इज इट क्लियर? अब एक और टाइप का एंटागनिज्म होता है यूजुअली, दैट इज नॉट गिवन इन योर बुक्स, बट इट इज कॉल्ड अनकॉम्पिटिटिव एंटागनिज्म. ओके, अनकॉम्पिटिटिव और इट इज ऑल्सो कॉल्ड एज एंटी कॉम्पिटिटिव. एंटी कॉम्पिटिटिव यानी अब नाम से आपको पता चल रहा है इट इज अगेंस्ट द रूल्स, इजंट इट? ये ऐसा साउंड कर रहा है हमें कि ये अगेंस्ट द रूल्स है, कुछ तो गड़बड़ है भाई. इट इज अनकॉम्पिटिटिव इन नेचर, इजंट इट? सो इस एंटागनिज्म में क्या होता है, दिस इज द ओनली टाइप ऑफ एंटागनिज्म जिसमें आपका जो Km वैल्यू जो होती है वो डिक्रीज होती है, यानी कि Kd वैल्यू डिक्रीज जब होगी तो एफिनिटी आपके रिसेप्टर के लिए बढ़ जाएगी. ठीक है, यानी कि लॉग डोज रिस्पॉन्स कर्व इसमें कहाँ शिफ्ट होगा, लेफ्ट में बजाय कि राइट में. लेकिन जो मैक्सिमल रिस्पॉन्स होगा वो फिर भी डिक्रीज ही होगा, बिकॉज आफ्टर ऑल यू आर गिविंग एन एंटागनिस्ट. ओके, तो अब इस केस में एग्जांपल कैसे आप विजुअलाइज करोगे? लेट्स से आपका एगोनिस्ट पहले वही 50 kg वन बॉक्सर था. ठीक है, वो रिंग के बाहर खड़ा हुआ है. फिर आपने अनकॉम्पिटिटिव और एंटी कॉम्पिटिटिव अगेंस्ट द रूल्स वाला आपने एंटागनिस्ट दिया. ठीक है, तो वो बॉक्सर क्या करेगा, वो एंटर करेगा एंटागनिस्ट. जब वो एंटर करेगा तो बाहर जो आपका बॉक्सर खड़ा है उसको लगेगा कि यार मैं इसको हरा सकता हूँ. ठीक है ना, तो वो जो एंटागनिस्ट अंदर पड़ा हुआ है वो उसको आवाज देता रहता है कि आजा भैया तू मेरे से फाइट कर और तू मुझे हरा सकता है. बट इन रियलिटी क्या होता है कि वो जो अनकॉम्पिटिटिव एंटी कॉम्पिटिटिव एंटागनिस्ट है वो अंदर से इतना स्ट्रांग है, उसको पता है कि मैं जितने ज़्यादा अंदर बुलाऊंगा, ठीक है, एगोनिस्ट को मैं बुलाता रहूंगा अंदर, ठीक है, उतना इजीली मैं उसको डिफीट कर सकता हूँ. ठीक है, तो वो क्या करता है कि एगोनिस्ट को बुलाता रहता है और रिसेप्टर पे बाइंड करवाता रहता है. तो वो एंटागनिस्ट कब एंटर करेगा उस रिसेप्टर पे, अनकॉम्पिटिटिव अगेंस्ट द रूल वाला एंटागनिस्ट जितना ज़्यादा एगोनिस्ट रिसेप्टर पे बाइंड करेगा उतना ज़्यादा इसका अफेक्ट आएगा. आप समझ रहे हो? ठीक है, तो इन अ वे दिस टाइप ऑफ, बिकॉज इट इज अगेंस्ट द रूल्स, दिस टाइप ऑफ एंटागनिज्म. ठीक है, और एंटी कॉम्पिटिटिव और अनकॉम्पिटिटिव. ठीक है, तो इसमें क्या होगा कि एंटागनिस्ट जो होता है उसका अफेक्ट सबसे ज़्यादा कब होगा, जब एगोनिस्ट की बहुत ज़्यादा कंसंट्रेशन होगी. ठीक है, यानी जितना ज़्यादा एगोनिस्ट रिसेप्टर से बाउंड होगा तब जाके ये एंटागनिस्ट जो है काम करेगा. तो इन ए वे दिस अनकॉम्पिटिटिव और एंटी कॉम्पिटिटिव एंटागनिस्ट क्या करता है, एगोनिस्ट की एफिनिटी बढ़ा देता है और बाइंडिंग टू द रिसेप्टर. बट उसको पता है कि आने दो, जितने आ रहे हैं एगोनिस्ट आ रहे हैं आने दो, बहुत बढ़िया है. लेकिन जब मैं एंटर करूंगा, ठीक है, तो मैं इनको इजीली डिफीट कर दूंगा. ठीक है, तो इसमें क्या होगा, एफिनिटी जरूर बढ़ेगी, यानी कि Km वैल्यू आपकी कम होगी, लॉग डोज रिस्पॉन्स पर लेफ्ट में शिफ्ट होगा, बट अल्टीमेटली नेट इफेक्ट क्या होगा, मैक्सिमल रिस्पॉन्स को रिड्यूस ही होना है, तो एफिकेसी रिड्यूस होगी. So this is called uncompetitive or anti-competitive antagonism. Okay, so this thing is not given in your books, but mind you, this type of antagonism is also observed very rarely. Okay, that is why it is not given in your books. Okay, so just remember this thing. Okay, so now in pharmacodynamics, only thing we are left with what is known as combined effect of drugs. So what happens when two drugs are combined? As I have told you, या तो वो एंटेगनिस्ट होंगे, A प्लस बी एंटेगनिस्ट हो सकते हैं, या फिर दो ड्रग मैं देता हूँ वो आपस में एक दूसरे का अफेक्ट बढ़ा सकते हैं. ठीक है, सो वन एग्जांपल ऑफ कॉम्पिटिटिव दिस ड्रग एडिशन इज व्हाट इज नोन एज ड्रग समेशन. समेशन यानी सम कर रहे हो आप, सिंपली 1 + 1 इज इक्वल टू 2. ठीक है, तो दो ड्रग्स मैंने यहाँ पे दिए ए और बी, और दोनों का नेट इफेक्ट क्या आ गया, दोनों का कंबाइंड इफेक्ट। ठीक है, 1 + 1 = 2। बट इंपॉर्टेंटली यू सी हियर, दोनों ड्रग्स अपने अपने मैकेनिज्म से एक्ट कर रही हैं, डिफरेंट मैकेनिज्म। लाइक एस्प्रिन जो है वो एनाल्जेसिया करेगी बाय इनहिबिटिंग कॉक्स एंजाइम। कोडीन एक मॉर्फिन टाइप का ड्रग है, वो अपने म्यू रिसेप्टर से एक्ट करेगा। ठीक है, फाइन। तो अपने अपने मैकेनिज्म से ये दोनों एक्ट करेंगे, लेकिन एक दूसरे का इफेक्ट, ये जो फाइनल इफेक्ट आएगा वो बढ़ा हुआ आएगा। ठीक है, इन दोनों का इफेक्ट मिला के। ठीक है, सो दिस इज 1 + 1 2। ठीक है, सो कीवर्ड हियर इज डिफरेंट मैकेनिज्म से दो ड्रग एक्ट कर रहे हैं। नेक्स्ट इज ड्रग एडिशन और एडिटिवनेस। हियर आल्सो 1 + 1 = 2, but both the drugs which you are giving, they are acting through same mechanism, but net effect is equal to the effect of individual. So aspirin plus diclofenac, you will obtain more analgesia, which will be equal to the analgesia obtained by each drug. 1 + 1 = 2. So keyword here is same mechanism. All right, now there is a term called drug synergism or synergism, which is also known as supra-additiveness. So when you combine these two drugs, the net effect is very high, more than the effect of individual drugs. So 1 + 1 4, or 1 + 1 5 6, whatever, you know. So here you are combining two drugs and both will act through their own mechanism. Okay, and the effect will be more than the effect of each drug. Okay, like you commonly see this trimethoprim or sulfamethoxazole. This trimethoprim is normally bacteriostatic antibiotic. Sulfamethoxazole is also bacteriostatic antibiotic. But when you combine them, the combination becomes bactericidal. Okay, so similarly, levodopa is a drug a prodrug which increases dopamine concentration in the brain. Okay, it is used to treat patients of Parkinsonism. But when you give it along with carbidopa inhibits the metabolism of, let's say, levodopa. Okay, so in a nutshell, carbidopa will be allowing more of levodopa to cross to the brain. So when you give levodopa alone, you obtain less relief. When you combine it with carbidopa, you obtain more relief for a longer duration, basically. Okay, so this type of drug, synergy, this is called drug synergism or supra-additiveness. All right, and other thing which we have already learned is drug antagonism, okay, I have already explained to you previously. Okay, now few more concepts in pharmacodynamics, what is known as tolerance. Sometimes a question can come in your exam that write a short note on receptor regulation, how the receptors are regulated. Okay, so receptors can be regulated. One mechanism is receptors can be down regulated. That is, when you give an agonist and when you give the repeating dose of an agonist, what happens that with gradually, एक सिस्टम के पास लिमिटेड ही रिसेप्टर है ना, आप एगोनिस्ट देते रहोगे देते रहोगे देते रहोगे, कोई तो मैक्सिमल लिमिट आएगी ना जब सारे रिसेप्टर्स ऑक्यूपाई हो जाएंगे। ठीक है, उसके बाद क्या होगा, फिर आप कॉन्टिन्यूसली एगोनिस्ट दिए जा रहे हो। ठीक है, तो तभी आप लॉग डोज रिस्पॉन्स करने देखते हो कि जब आप डोज बढ़ाते हो अल्टीमेटली एक मैक्सिमल इफेक्ट आ जाता है ना, उसके बाद जब आप डोज बढ़ाओगे तो फिर कुछ फायदा नहीं होगा क्योंकि रिसेप्टर सारे ऑक्यूपाई हो गए। उसके बाद क्या होता है, अगर आप फिर डोज बढ़ाओगे तो जो रिसेप्टर्स हैं आपके सारे ऑक्यूपाई हो गए, और जो सारे सेकेंडरी इफेक्टर्स थे आपने सारे यूटिलाइज कर लिए, सेकेंडरी मैसेंजर्स थे। अब आप और डोज बढ़ाओगे एगोनिस्ट की, क्या होगा, कोई फायदा नहीं होने वाला। क्यों, क्योंकि आपके पास सेकेंडरी मैसेंजर्स तो सारे आपने यूज कर लिए, डिप्लीट हो गए। ठीक है, तो फिर उसके बाद रिस्पॉन्स बल्कि आपको कम होता हुआ नजर आएगा। क्यों, क्योंकि फिर उसके बाद आप एगोनिस्ट दिए जा रहे हो दिए जा रहे हो दिए जा रहे हो, व्हाट विल हैपन, सम ऑफ द रिसेप्टर्स विल इन्वॉल्यूट, दे विल गो इनसाइड द सेल, वो सरफेस मेम्ब्रेन से हटके अंदर चले जाएंगे लाइसोसोम्स के थ्रू, और फिर वो डिस्ट्रॉय हो जाएंगे, तो रिसेप्टर का नंबर डिक्रीज हो जाएगा। ठीक है, सो ultimately when you give the same dose of drug which was earlier producing maximal response, वही सेम डोज आप अगले हफ्ते दोगे और आप देखोगे अरे ये क्या हो गया, अब तो मुझे रिस्पॉन्स आ ही नहीं रहा। ठीक है, सो जैसे कि इसमें है कि मॉर्फिन आप लेते हो 10 मिलीग्राम, ठीक है, आपने 2 हफ्ते तक खाई और बहुत बढ़िया एनाल्जेसिया हो रहा है, ठीक है, फिर वही तीसरे हफ्ते आप खाते हो मॉर्फिन सेम 10 मिलीग्राम, आप देखते हो अरे यार मेरे तो फिर से पेन हो रहा है, काम करना बंद कर दिया। क्यों काम करना बंद कर दिया? क्योंकि मॉर्फिन 10 मिलीग्राम में उसने 2 हफ्ते तक देते रहे, तो सारे के सारे इम्यून रिसेप्टर ऑक्यूपाई कर लिए, सारे सेकेंडरी मैसेंजर जी प्रोटीन आपके जो इंड्यूस सेकेंडरी मैसेंजर थे वो डिप्लीट हो गए, और रिसेप्टर्स भी जो है अब क्या हो रहे हैं, डिस्ट्रॉय होना शुरू हो रहे हैं, वो सेल के अंदर जा रहे हैं, डिस्ट्रॉय हो गए। अब मॉर्फिन भैया रिसेप्टर का नंबर ही कम रह गया, तो 10 मिलीग्राम मॉर्फिन जो है, व्हाट विल हैपन, इट विल नॉट बी एबल टू give you analgesic effect. So this kind of, so this phenomenon is known as tolerance. Okay, अब आप क्या करोगे, मॉर्फिन की 20 मिलीग्राम डोज दोगे। अब आप कहोगे भैया कि अब मैं 20 मिलीग्राम की डोज देता हूँ, now which will overcome the effect of this. So such type of, so this tolerance means simply when a more than the usual amount of or a higher dose is required to obtain the same effect. Okay, this is called tolerance. So it occurs why? Because of receptor down regulation or decrease in the receptor number and sensitivity. And this type of tolerance, or it is also called chronic tolerance, it happens in days. Okay, and it can be overcome by increasing dose. Okay, fine. So drug effect is decreased usually with tolerance, but with increase in the dose, you can overcome this. Okay. For example, when you use salbutamol inhaler, तो आप देखते हो अस्थमा के पेशेंट्स में जब वो इनहेल करते रहते हैं, कुछ टाइम के बाद वो अफेक्ट आना ही बंद हो जाता है, क्योंकि बीटा 2 रिसेप्टर्स का डाउन रेगुलेशन हो जाता है। तो फिर आपको साल्बुटामोल इनहेलर में जो डोज बढ़ानी पड़ती है, फिर जाके दोबारा से अफेक्ट आता है। ठीक है। Now second type of receptor regulation is called tachyphylaxis or acute tolerance. Okay, तो इसमें क्या है, आप कह रहे हो कि ड्रग की डोजेस दे रहे हो इन क्विक सक्सेशन विद इन आवर्स। अब विद इन आवर्स आप दोगे तो जल्दी से मैक्सिमल रिस्पॉन्स आ जाएगा। ठीक है, जब जल्दी से मैक्सिमल रिस्पॉन्स आ जाएगा, आप रिसेप्टर को हिट करे जा रहे हो बाय गिविंग रिपीटेड डोजेस विद इन आवर्स ऑफ ईच अदर। ओके, सो दिस ऑब्वियसली व्हाट विल हैपन, तो सारे सेकेंडरी मैसेंजर्स डिप्लीट हो जाएंगे और रिसेप्टर्स जो हैं इन्वॉल्यूट हो जाएंगे, बिकॉज वो अंदर तो नहीं जाएंगे, बट वो उनका जो फेस पहले पहले जो वो बाइंडिंग साइट प्रोवाइड कर रहे थे एगोनिस्ट को, अब वो सेल के अंदर चले जाएंगे रिसेप्टर। ठीक है, इन्वॉल्यूट कर जाते हैं, बस जो उनका एगोनिस्ट बाइंडिंग जो मुंह है बाहर की तरफ था, वो अंदर की तरफ हो जाएगा, अब एगोनिस्ट बाइंड नहीं कर पाएगा। दिस इज कॉल्ड रिसेप्टर इन्वॉल्यूशन। ठीक है, रिसेप्टर का डिस्ट्रक्शन होता है क्रॉनिक टॉलरेंस में। तो टेकीफाइलेक्सिस में क्या होता है, रिसेप्टर इन्वॉल्यूशन होता है या एग्जॉशन होता है सेकेंडरी मैसेंजर्स का। ठीक है, सो इसमें क्या हो रहा है, अब इट हैपन्स इन आवर्स। ओके, तो हेयर अब रिसेप्टर क्या हुए, आपके सेकेंडरी मैसेंजर्स भी डिप्लीट हो गए, और रिसेप्टर का जो मुंह बाहर की तरफ था, जो बाइंडिंग साइड थी, वो अंदर की तरफ हो गई। तो अब आप जितनी भी डोज बढ़ा लो, इट कैनॉट बी ओवरकम, क्योंकि जो ड्रग है आपका वो एक्ट ही कैसे करेगा, जो रिसेप्टर का मुंह ही अंदर की तरफ हो गया, बाइंडिंग साइट ही नहीं बची। ठीक है, और सेकेंडरी मैसेंजर सारे डिप्लीट हो गए। ठीक है, सो सच टाइप ऑफ टॉलरेंस cannot be overcome by increasing dose, and it happens very quickly, like it is seen with indirectly acting sympathomimetics. Usually these drugs release the noradrenaline by causing their release from vesicles, presynaptic vesicles, which you will study in the ऑटोनॉमिक नर्वस सिस्टम। तो जब आप ये ड्रग देते हो क्विकली, एफिड्रीन, आपके प्रैक्टिकल में भी ये आप देखोगे, एफिड्रीन की आप डोजेस क्विकली दिए देते हो, विद इन आवर्स यू कैन सी आफ्टर 4 to 5 आवर्स इफ you will see एफिड्रीन काम करना बंद कर देगा। इनिशियली इट वुड बी लीडिंग टू इंक्रीज इन ब्लड प्रेशर, बट फाइनली it will not be able to do so. Okay, if you give quick repeated doses of ephedrine or तो एम्फेटामीन्स भी अगर आप लेते रहोगे क्विकली टू ऑब्टेन मोर, एम्फेटामीन के एडिक्शन होता है, तो अगर आप बहुत क्विकली हायर डोज ले लोगे तो फिर वो काम करना बंद कर देता है। ठीक है, सो द ओनली वे टू रिवर्स सच टाइप ऑफ टॉलरेंस इज कि आप कुछ गैप दे दो। ठीक है, तो आप थोड़े घंटों के लिए ड्रग ना लो, फिर से रिसेप्टर आपके जो है बाहर की तरफ आ जाएंगे, एंड देन अगेन यू कैन टेक द ड्रग। Okay, so this phenomenon is commonly seen with nitrates, okay, Mendel disease, so which will be explained to you when we'll study the cardiovascular system. Okay. Now another concept in receptor regulation is called receptor upregulation. रिसेप्टर का नंबर बढ़ गया या उनकी सेंसिटिविटी बढ़ गई, ठीक है. सो दिस यूजली हैपन्स विद प्रोलॉन्ग्ड यूज ऑफ एंटागनिस्ट. जब एंटागनिस्ट आप बहुत लंबे टाइम के लिए लेते रहते हो, व्हाट हैपन्स कि साथ साथ और रिसेप्टर्स भी सिंथेसाइज होते रहते हैं और उनकी सेंसिटिविटी भी बढ़ जाती है. ओके ओके. सो नॉर्मली दिस हैपन्स लाइक टिमोनॉल इज अ बीटा ब्लॉकर. तो जैसे ही आप टिमोनॉल को आप आंखों में इसकी ड्रॉप्स डालते रहोगे, यू नो, इट इज यूज फॉर ग्लाउकोमा. तो इनिशियली इंट्राऑक्यूलर प्रेशर डिक्रीज होता रहेगा, लेकिन आप इसको लंबे टाइम के लिए यूज करते रहोगे और फिर सडनली स्टॉप कर दोगे क्योंकि रिसेप्टर का नंबर तो बढ़ गया है ना. जैसे सडनली आप स्टॉप करोगे और फिर उसके बाद इसको यू नो यू विल फाइंड कि देयर इज सडन राइज इन इंट्राऑक्यूलर प्रेशर. क्यों? क्योंकि जब जो एंडोजिनसली सिंथेसाइज्ड आपका नॉरएड्रेनालिन है वो इन रिसेप्टर पे जाके एक्ट करेगा और राइज करवा देगा इंट्राऑक्यूलर प्रेशर में. ठीक है. ऐसे ही बीटा ब्लॉकर्स आप खाते रहो एज एंटी हाइपरटेंसिव और सडन अगर आप विड्रॉल करोगे तो व्हाट विल हैपन, जो एंडोजिनसली हमारी बॉडी में नॉरएड्रेनालिन है वो जाके बीटा रिसेप्टर्स पे एक्ट करेगा और ब्लड प्रेशर बढ़ा देगा. इसलिए सच एंटागनिस्ट शुड नेवर बी स्टॉप एब्रप्टली. ठीक है. हमेशा इसलिए आपको एडवाइस किया जाता है आप उसको स्टॉप करो.